Hey everybody, I hope you can hear me. If you can hear me, could you please give this video a thumbs up? I'm gonna get some water. I've had some major sound issues for some reason today. So if you can hear this, let me know, please. Hey everybody, I hope you guys can hear me. I was done super early today and I was so excited, and then no matter what I did, the sound wasn't working when I would test it. So I'm gonna wait to see if you guys can hear me. If you are new here, it's not normally so discombobulated. Welcome, welcome if this is your first time here. If you showed up for live Q&A for the global community of trauma survivors who have experienced complex trauma, you're looking for a safe place to come hang out with other survivors, then you're in the right place. So I am just gonna check and see if you guys, see if I can. Hey Matt, can anybody hear me? Oh my goodness. Can you hear me? Oh, okay. Awesome. I apologize, you guys, for the technical issues. My goodness, right? That's what I get for doing live. Like, I should just pre-record all my videos. Welcome, welcome. This is your first time here, or if you're here and you're always here every single week, every Monday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, or if you're in the UK, Greenwich Mean Time, it's 2 in the morning and you can't sleep perhaps, and you're here, then welcome. I'm super excited you're here. I'm going to tell you who this place is for and who this place isn't for. If you are a trauma survivor and you are coming here to receive support or give support, then this is for you. If you are a cyberbully or a troll, or you are just a professional critic or complainer and you're not willing to step away if you're triggered, then this place is not for you. So welcome. I'm so excited you're here. This week's topic is trauma-informed care. If you're a practitioner and you are a trauma-informed practitioner, I want to say thank you. I'm so happy that you are alive and that you are providing trauma-informed care to your clients. And if you are a part of a mental health organization, either a government organization or another organization that provides trauma-informed care or points people to trauma-informed resources, thank you, thank you, thank you so much. It is desperately needed, especially in the world we live in these days when trauma is so commonplace. There's so much trauma going on all over the world, different types of trauma. This particular YouTube channel focuses on adult survivors of childhood trauma. Yes, there are some people who are here who are adults and they're living with CPTSD as a result of an adult interpersonal relationship, but the majority of the survivors here, there are 3,000 of you, and you're in 180 different countries, and we all have one thing in common, and that is that we are adults and we experienced abuse or other type of trauma during childhood. And we're adults now and we're living with the after effects of that. So super quick, I just want to go through and make sure that I thank everyone. Welcome to the live discussion. If you're on Twitter using the hashtag #NoMoreShame, welcome. I'm so happy you're here. If you're on YouTube or Roku TV and you're using a live chat box feature, welcome. Everyone that is here will welcome you with open arms, lovingly and kindly, and they won't abuse you, and they will all do this because they know that if they are unkind or abusive, then they get blocked and then they're not allowed to be here. So this is a safe place for the most part. It's not a perfect place, but this is a safe place. So I'm hoping that that is something you're looking for, and I'm super excited you're here. This week's topic is trauma-informed care, and I would love to hear from you, either down in the comments if you're watching a replay, or over in the live chat box over on YouTube or on Twitter using the hashtag #NoMoreShame. What are your questions? What are your questions about trauma-informed care? And even more so, what is your wisdom that you would like to share with us? What is some helpful advice that you have on the topic of trauma-informed care that you want to share with our community members? Just take a few moments. If you're here for the live discussion, please read the description underneath this video. There's a little description box under the video. Just hit the little arrow and it'll open up a description box underneath. Please just briefly read that if you're here for the live discussion, so you know the direction this conversation is going in. And I just, again, want to welcome you. There is a powerfully transforming thing that happens when a community comes together. And they're all here for one specific purpose, and that is to heal and to support one another or to receive support. So these videos and these discussions are never intended to be a therapeutic service or a diagnosis. They're not a substitute for medical care. If you want or need therapy, please seek a qualified, experienced, licensed professional. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a psychiatrist. All the videos on this YouTube channel are shared from a lived experience perspective, from a coaching perspective. I openly discuss the research that I've personally conducted over the course of my 17-year healing journey. And some of the topic research that I discuss on this YouTube channel can be sent in or requested or curated by community members. This channel does discuss abuse in graphic detail occasionally, and the volunteers and the interns and the community members on this channel who have been here for quite some time do speak with transparency and vulnerability, and we won't tolerate any predatory or abusive behavior on this channel. So again, this topic is going to be triggering if you have experienced any type of abuse, especially during childhood, or if you're living with CPTSD. The questions that the community members ask during the live Q&A portion, they are very graphic in nature sometimes. So please practice self-care while participating in this conversation, and please step away from the chat box or the hashtag on Twitter, or just pause the video if you feel triggered, if you feel dry mouth, sweaty palms, sick to your stomach. Don't engage in conversation with any of us. Just pause it, step away. No need to trigger everybody else, and no need to put yourself in any undue situation where you're experiencing undue stress, because you deserve the best possible care. If you are triggered at any time, I would love for you to reach out to our friends over at the Rape, Abuse, Incest National Network. They can be reached at rainn.org, or our friends over at the Crisis Text Line. That's crisistextline.org. Or if you want immediate help via text message, you can text the word HELP to 741-741. So please take a minute right now and just tweet out using the hashtag #NoMoreShame. Copy the crisis information that is over in the chat box, or just just tweet out any information that you see. There should be people sharing images and memes with suicide prevention hotlines, RAIN.org, crisistextline.org. There will be people tweeting out stuff right now. They do every single Monday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. It would mean a lot to me if you retweeted that, or tweeted something out, or shared something on Facebook, or even just shared it here in the discussion box on YouTube, to just let everybody know that, you know, we have their back, and this is a place of safety where people can receive care. So if you made it to the live discussion and you're here and you've made it through all of the announcements over the past 7 or 8 minutes, then I would appreciate it if you would give this video a thumbs up. If this channel's been helpful for you, you guys always send me messages. How can I help? How can I support the work you do with survivors? Giving these videos a thumbs up and sharing them and commenting below after the video is done being live and it goes into an archive where comments are allowed, that helps me the most. It shows YouTube that I'm putting out content that is applicable and valid and relevant for the culture we live in today, and it would just really mean a lot to me. So really quickly, a special thank you to all of our volunteer members, Maggie, Matt, Jody, Kalisha, Harriet, Heather, Dawn, Jack, Poppy, and all of you guys who contribute every single week and show up here. And for all you guys that arrive here early, and just are so willing to share unconditional love and support with everyone else. Thank you so much. So again, this isn't a place for crisis care. Step away if you're triggered. Really quickly, if you've already sent in some questions, if you haven't sent in your questions yet using the hashtag #NoMoreShame or over in the YouTube chat box, please do so within the next 45 to 50 minutes. I'll be taking questions within the next 45 to 50 minutes. You can submit them, and then I will answer all of them as soon as I'm done with tonight's screen share talking about the topic of trauma-informed care. So no spammers, no trolls allowed here. You'll be blocked immediately. And, you know, none of us really, you know, we like you as long as you're nice, but if you're going to be mean, you're out of here, and we're not going to be nice to you anymore. We're just going to block you. So let's see which of you guys has submitted questions so far. Really quickly, I want to say hello to Monique, and thank you so much, Monique, for sending in a question already. I'm going to go into tonight's screen share, and I'm going to share with you guys in depth about what trauma-informed care is and what to look for, and we're going to even start with just trauma and what to look for and things that can be traumatic, just so we start from just the basis of everything, okay? So let me see if I can get the screen share to work. At least I got the audio working tonight. I'm going to call that a win. Here we go. Can you guys see the screen share yet? If so, would you let us know in the chat box if you can see the screen share? Or you could give this video a thumbs up. That would be super awesome. Really always appreciative of your thumbs up and your comments and your interaction. It means a lot to me. And give yourselves a thumbs up if you showed up for the live discussion and you're here to receive support. I'm just always so proud of you guys. So again, tonight's topic is trauma-informed care. I'm so excited that you're here. Let me see. There we go. Okay, so community members H and M asked, they sent in messages, and I've been receiving a lot of messages actually, but these are the particular ones that I'm pointing out right now. Community members H and M ask Athena, what is trauma-informed? And how will I know if my therapist is trauma-informed? What if I believe my loved one has been traumatized and I want to be sure they receive the best care possible, especially trauma-informed care? So you guys, these are excellent questions. All your questions that you send me are really excellent questions. So I'm going to go in depth tonight on this topic, and I want to thank you for always sending me such thought-provoking and excellent questions. So what an excellent and applicable question this is for us to discuss. There are millions of adults who are either watching this video right now or who will view this video someday, many of whom are living with a diagnosed or undiagnosed mental illness, or who are healing from unresolved complex trauma. First, let's discuss the basis of trauma, examples of traumatic occurrences, and then we'll break down to determine what trauma-informed care looks like. So what exactly is trauma? According to the National Association of State Mental Health Program Directors, an article I found written by Andrea Blanche, Beth Filson, Darby Penny, and Kathy Cave say that trauma occurs when an external threat overwhelms a person's coping resources. It can result in psychological or emotional distress, or it can affect many aspects of the person's life over a long period of time. Sometimes people are not even aware the challenges they face now are related to trauma which occurred earlier in life. Trauma is unique to each individual. The most violent events are not always the events which have the deepest impact. Trauma can happen to anyone. But some groups are particularly vulnerable due to their circumstances, including children, people with disabilities, women, and anyone who is homeless or living in an institution. Sources of trauma. And I listed down in the description section of this video, right below your video screen, in the little section with all the text in it below the video, there are 2 websites where I got all of the information for today's screen share. You can click on them. I encourage you to go check out those websites, look up trauma-informed resources, scour those resources and the websites and all of the resources that they list. They list scholarly articles, they list links to different organizations, places where you can search with your zip code to find out where there are treatment facilities nearby, and then you can begin making phone calls and find out what places specialize in trauma, which ones specialize in something that is specific to you. So I encourage you to not only go to this particular website, which is listed in the description section of this video, but there's another website as well. So definitely excellent stuff, you guys. So some sources of trauma include emotional, physical, or sexual abuse in childhood, which are many of us here on this YouTube channel, abandonment or neglect, especially for small children, sexual assault, domestic violence, experiencing or witnessing violent crime, institutional abuse. And incidentally, you guys, institutional abuse, it can be anything from inpatient treatment, being re-traumatized there, being abused in an inpatient program, to foster care, parochial school, any type of institution where you were located and then you experienced trauma in an institution and you were abused by the system. Next bullet point right here. Cultural dislocation or sudden loss, terrorism, war, historical violence against a specific group, as in slavery or genocide, natural disasters, grief of any kind, chronic stressors like racism and poverty, accidents of any kind, medical procedures, and any situation where one person misuses power over another. Now, I know many of you are sitting there and you are spinning because you tick off all the boxes, or you tick off half the boxes, or you tick off, you know, almost all the boxes, with the exception of perhaps slavery or genocide. Or perhaps you were involved in slavery. I've received emails from some of you, and you were involved in slavery, and you were living in a country where some of your family members were victims of genocide, and you're a survivor. I want you to know you're not alone, and I want you to know that healing is possible and there is hope. Over here on the right, the most important piece of information you can take away from your time here today, like let's say you have to leave right now and you're 15 minutes in, I just need you to know that healing is possible. There is hope, no matter what, okay? No matter how you feel right now today, it's temporary. Healing is possible. Trauma-informed care helps us to take our power back. It helps us to feel empowered and feel hopeful in our recovery. So I want you to know that healing is possible, even if you take nothing else away today, okay? If you can just breathe that in and just hold that space for yourself, knowing that even if you don't believe it for yourself, even if you have no hope right now, I want to lend you my hope. I want to lend you my encouragement, lend you my courage. You don't have any courage to go on. I want to lend you my courage. You don't have any hope. I want to lend you my hope, okay? I've been in that situation. I tick off almost all the boxes on sources of trauma, almost, not all. And on the ACEs score, if you guys have taken the ACEs, ACEs Too High, the Adverse Childhood Experiences test on the website. Harriet, if you could pop up the video on the replay of the video we did on adverse childhood experiences so that people would have easy access to it, that would be amazing. you guys, I score a perfect 10, and I know several of you that are here live right now that I interact with on a very regular basis. You guys scored a perfect 10 on the ACEs. I scored a perfect 10 on ACEs. And I have felt hopeless, and I want to tell you that there is hope and that healing is possible, okay? I'm going to move down now to 8 common indicators or ways to know if we or our loved ones have experienced trauma. Number 1, we have flashbacks or frequent nightmares. Number 2, we're very sensitive to noise or to being touched. Number 3, we're always expecting something bad to happen. Number 4, we don't remember periods of our life. We have big blank spots. We can't remember long periods of time. We have spots where there should be memories. Number 5, we feel numb. And I don't mean like just like if your leg falls asleep, or you're sleeping and like you're sitting Indian style and you start to lose feeling in your feet. Like you just feel numb, like you don't feel any high highs or low lows. You don't feel happy or sad or any type of emotion that you can sort of rank on any type of a scale. You just feel sort of flatlined. That's what number 5 means, feeling numb. Number 6, you find yourself in situations where others abuse or take advantage of you. Number 7, you lack concentration. You are prone to irritability, and you have sleep problems, like sleep disturbances or trouble falling asleep, trouble staying asleep. Not just once or twice, but like every single day, like chronically for years. And the last one, number 8, excessive watchfulness, also known as hypervigilance, anxiety, anger, shame, or sadness. So what does trauma-informed look like? The Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Association describes a trauma-informed approach as one which, number 1, realizes the widespread impact of trauma and understands potential paths for recovery. Number 2, they recognize the signs and symptoms of trauma in their clients, families, staff, and others involved with the system. Number 3, they respond by fully integrating knowledge about trauma into their policies, procedures, and practices. And lastly, number 4, they seek to actively resist re-traumatization. And this is a real important one right here, you guys. This is big, okay? When we finally find a practitioner or we receive the level of care that we deserve, and they're very intentional about making sure that we're not re-traumatized, that's like you've hit like the golden ticket of all care. And I know that sounds like I'm putting a lot of weight on only one of those aspects of trauma-informed approach, but it really is key. Re-traumatization can almost be more traumatizing than the root trauma itself. And so seeking to do as many things as possible to avoid re-traumatization and resist it, and put policies and procedures in place which help people to not be re-traumatized, that's really, 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 really key. So moving on to right here, be on the lookout for practitioners and programs which communicate the following, or that consistently cultivate an environment which takes the following aspects into consideration. They take into consideration your safety. They take into consideration that you need trustworthiness and transparency within your treatment program. They seek to set you up in a place where you can receive peer support, collaboration, and mutuality. If you guys don't know some of these words, you can easily look them up on Google. Just Google what peer support is. Google what mutuality is. Google what any of these things are. Use the internet to your advantage. If you're watching this on Roku or on YouTube, you can easily pop these words into your YouTube search bar as well, and they'll pop up videos explaining what these things are for you. Number 5. Trauma-informed practitioners, they seek to empower you, and they want you to use your voice and to be able to make choices. And they keep into consideration any cultural differences, historical aspects, and they also take into consideration your gender. Some treatment is gender specific. Some treatment is administered differently with men than it is with women. You ask different questions. You approach things differently, and it's not a cookie cutter approach. This last one, number 6, is really big because there are different cultures, so many different cultures, especially in the United States. I know you could be watching this from any of like over 180 different countries, but if you are watching this, wherever you're watching this, there are so many different cultures. And even just in the United States alone, we have so many different cultures that we need to take into consideration when we are interacting with other people, if we're looking to approach our interactions from a trauma-informed perspective. And historical, meaning what we mentioned earlier with regards to slavery and genocide, and just what has happened historically with whether it's your family or your ethnicity or your gender, whatever has happened, they take these things into consideration. And then gender, of course, is self-explanatory. So how do we help our loved ones feel better today, like right now? One of the things I would love for you to do, if you have the time, or if you feel comfortable doing so, invite them to watch this video. Invite them to tune in. We're only about 25 minutes into this video right now. They don't have to watch the video up until minute 25. If you don't want them to have to sit through the welcome and the announcements and the trigger warnings and everything else, then you choose what portion of this video you would like for them to view and invite them to view it so that they know they're not alone. Number 2, acknowledge that your loved one may feel ashamed of the trauma they have been through. It's very common for people to feel ashamed when they are traumatized. Somehow, some way, people have gotten it into their minds from the time they're very, very little that they need to just cruise through life and everything just needs to be good all the time. Now, this is a learned behavior. They were taught through either words or actions or withholding of love that they needed to perform a certain way. So if they're traumatized and they're feeling frozen, they may feel inept or frustrated or afraid to express how it is that they're really feeling. And it's very, very common. It's not uncommon for that to happen. Number 3, let your loved one know that you care about them and that you are a safe place for them to share whatever has happened with them. And whatever you do, lastly, never, ever, ever say, "You're okay, suck it up, buttercup, cowboy up, it's time to be a big boy, it's time to be a big girl." Never say any of those types of statements to anyone. I'm sure many of you sitting here are cringing because people have said these things to you. It is extremely minimizing and re-traumatizing for trauma survivors of any age to be spoken to in that manner. Or to say, why didn't you report something? Why didn't you say something sooner? You're okay. We've all felt, we've all been traumatized. Oh, trauma. Oh, drama. You're just so much drama. It's important that we keep in mind that people may have been spoken to in this way, and we don't want them to feel like we are going to minimize their experience or intentionally re-traumatize them the way other people may have. So right here, there's a really neat quote that I found. And this is about research that I found while preparing this particular screen share for you. Research shows that people are extremely resilient. They can recover from even severe and repeated trauma, and they can grow stronger in unexpected ways. Just like a broken bone, a person can become stronger at the broken places. Often people move through predictable stages of safety like remembrance and mourning and reconnection with others. And grieving is often a major component of healing. And please know, you guys, I don't say any of this in a minimizing way that says, "Oh, you're fine. You're gonna be stronger. Whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger." I want to share this information with you as a form of encouragement to let you know that healing is possible and there is hope. And even though it doesn't feel like it right now, perhaps, you can someday become stronger at the broken places where you feel broken or you feel like you've been traumatized. It is possible. And it doesn't mean that what happened to you didn't matter. And it doesn't mean that it must not have been that bad if you're fine now. That's not what I'm saying at all. I just want to let you know that healing is possible, and we we will, move through predictable stages. Some days we'll feel more safe than others. Some days we'll have memories. Some days we won't. Some days we're going to be mourning the loss of the childhood we never had, or the family members that we wish we had, or who we thought they were. And sometimes we seek reconnection with those people, even if they were abusive towards us. And sometimes we just feel an impending sense of doom or loss, like we're never going to feel better. And all these things are normal, but I promise you, however you're feeling, it is temporary, and there is healing. Healing is possible. There is hope, okay? So I want for either you or your loved one to seek validation and compassionate dialogue and accountability from other survivors. There can be tremendous healing in seeing how much your debilitating after effects of complex trauma match up with others who may have gone through similar circumstances. The shackles of shame can fall to the ground when we hear the words, "me too." Number 2, seek medical help. Seek validation and compassionate dialogue and accountability from trauma-informed helping professionals. And we described earlier up in the screen share towards the top what a trauma-informed helping professional looks like, and I will be answering your specific questions after the screen share. Trauma-informed helping professionals can help you to feel less alone, and they can encourage you in making healthier daily choices through tools like tracker sheets, journal topics, and just by being trauma-informed. And a helpful thing to note, having a trauma-informed professional to meet with on a regular basis can be life-changing for you, and it can even be life-saving for those of you who experience suicidal ideation. Number 3, begin to speak out loud or in a virtual or local support group about your daily and your weekly goals. You can start as slowly as you like. You can share your truth with those who will provide safe, non-judgmental support, and that will allow you to examine your behaviors in the light of day rather than continuing to keep them locked up in the dark recesses of your mind. Anything you're ashamed of will dissipate once you talk about it. Shame cannot survive in community, as we say right here. We remind you of this all the time here on this channel. Shame cannot survive in community. Number 4. Do your best to begin intentionally surrounding yourself with those in whom you have identified as safe people. Making the choice to start eliminating toxic or shame-inducing people from your sphere of influence is truly one of the most radical acts of self-love and self-compassion that you can make. And remember, safe people will always be respectful of your healthy boundaries. Your whole entire life can change with just these 2 components. And what we mean by these 2 components is safe people and healthy boundaries. Just those 2 components alone can change your whole entire life. Number 5, as an adult survivor who is over 18 years of age, know that you are the only one who will be in control of your recovery and your daily habits. You may choose to maintain relationships with your family of origin if you choose to do so, even if they were abusive. You may move as slowly as you wish. Only you get to determine which choices you make or changes you consider. Only you, not your family, not your friends, not your boss, not your pastor, not your therapist, not your coach, and certainly not me. Know your recovery will likely not be the same as someone else's. Every healing journey is unique, and someone else's specific goals and habits might not be something which you agree with or choose for yourself. Comparing our recovery progress to someone else's is rarely helpful, and it is oftentimes very damaging. Make the choice to join in safe community with other survivors. And if you're here watching this video, that's exactly what you're doing. You are choosing to join in safe community with other survivors. There are several free Facebook groups and other low-cost affordable groups, especially for adults who are living with CPTSD symptoms. You deserve to receive acceptance, support, and encouragement. And when you finally receive the non-judgmental support that you deserve, you'll begin to heal and recover from your trauma at an exponential rate. There is strength in numbers. Choosing to be actively involved in safe community will help you to feel stronger and less ashamed. So to get plugged into a virtual safe support community where you can practice new skills and become adept at creating healthy habits, go over to the About page on this YouTube channel and follow the little process and know that there's a bit of a backlog right now, and we'll do our best to get you plugged in just as soon as possible. So that was a really quick screen share, very comprehensive. I'm certain that it's going to, you're going to have a lot of questions. You guys are going to have a lot of questions, and I'm perfectly okay with that and very ready to answer your guys' questions. So I'm just going to get some water here while you send in your questions, and then I'm going to begin answering your questions. So, and if you need me to repeat anything from the screen share, please let me know. Okay, thanks for just being here, you guys. Let's see what we have going on here. Let's see the questions that you have going on. 1 second here. Okay. First of all, welcome, you guys. Welcome to Monique and to Dawn. Welcome back, Dawn. We missed you. We love you. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Flower Song. Thank you, Anne, Gary, Joey, and Julie. Thanks so much, you guys. I see you. I hear you. You matter. I'm going to go ahead and answer your questions now. So Monique says, Athena, can you explain questions to ask therapists before we work with them to ensure they are trauma informed? So yes, I can. I'll give you guys access to the screen share that I had for you. But you know what I would love to do? I would love if you guys could like screenshot this. So I'm going to pull this up for you really quick, and I want you to screenshot this so that you guys can have this available to you. Okay. All right. So screenshot this, if you could, please. Let me make sure that it's there. Now it's nice and big, and there are the little thingies out of the way. What does trauma-informed look like? And you can ask. So go ahead and screenshot that or pause the video. I'm gonna go back now. So what I did, just so you guys know how I found my EMDR girl. Well, first of all, I really wanted someone who was an EMDR practitioner, because EMDR is a very effective modality for trauma. You guys know I'm a huge fan of EMDR. So what I did was I wrote down, aside from EMDR, I wrote down some questions that I asked my own therapist. And one of them was, what experience do you have with trauma? What experience do you have with treating adult survivors of childhood trauma? And I allowed her to share. And yes, this was my first meeting with her. I even included some questions in the email that I sent her initially before I even scheduled my first appointment. And I asked her if she had a website that I could look at, so that I could look at some of her, some of her references and some of the things that she specialized in. I Googled her name. I found her. I looked for her on Psych Central, and I did some research on her. So I got her name. I got her, what her background was, what it is that she was looking for in her own private practice, like what types of clients, does she mostly work with, and I asked her about that. It also helped that I was referred to her, not like I got a clinical referral from my family practitioner, general practitioner. My GP didn't refer me to her. I actually got personally referred to her by a friend who was doing some trauma work. And I was like, hey, who are you working with? Does she do EMDR? So I've been waiting. I had been waiting for a good couple years before I wanted to do EMDR again. I wanted to make sure it was somebody that I could trust. I wanted to make sure that I could pick the brain of my friend who had been working with her. And, you know, I asked her some questions. And I had found in our very first meeting that, you know, she had been doing trauma work for like 10 years. She had over 10 years of working with trauma survivors, specifically with trauma. And I asked her to tell me a little bit about that. And then I filled out some intake forms that she sent me, and I filled them out very, 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 very thoroughly. And one of my triggers is not being heard, not being listened to, because so many times during my childhood, I would try to speak up and talk about my trauma, and nobody did anything about it. They just ignored me and allowed life to go on its traumatic course, and that's just not okay. So I put big asterisks in the margin and underline and big bold letters, and I mean, I did as much as I possibly could. And then I even told her face to face, it would mean a lot to me if you read through what I sent you very carefully. The last thing I want to do, and I know that this is scary for some of you, this was scary for me too, but I did say this out loud. I said to her, the last thing I want to do is to spend all this time filling out the paperwork that you've given me, only to have you ask me these questions again during my time with you. The reason I'm taking so much time ahead of time to fill out the paperwork that you're giving me is because I don't want to spend my time here face to face with you asking me the questions that I'm already filling out. So it would mean a lot to me if you read through my paperwork very, very carefully before you ask me questions. Because I will probably feel like you didn't listen or read, or that, and when you don't read or listen to what I have to say, I feel unimportant, and that's very triggering and re-traumatizing for me, and I'm here to be untraumatized, not re-traumatized. So my ability to communicate my needs that clearly is not something that came overnight. I'm not even insinuating for 1 minute that you guys need to be at the place where you can say to your helping professional, listen, you need to read the paperwork. I'm not suggesting that you guys need to do this. I'm simply sharing with you what worked for me, and it took me a long time and a lot of deep, 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 deep work to be able to communicate my needs effectively. And it helps me. And I'm having a lot of aha moments and light bulb moments and deep healing moments and breaking through some really deep core beliefs that I've had. And I'm restructuring my core beliefs about myself, about the world, about my abuse, about my present interpersonal relationships, about my business, about this work I do here with you guys in this community. I'm able to look at life differently when I'm able to communicate my needs effectively and have them met. So I hope that helps, Monique. And I'm going to move on to the next question, but I hope that was helpful for you. Let's see. Janie. Hi, Janie. Janie says, I'm currently doing mentalization-based therapy for BPD, which is borderline personality disorder. And it focuses on early attachment styles and how that affects current relationships. Would that be, or does it sound trauma-informed? The short answer is yes, it does sound trauma-informed, and I don't want to just say yes and move on. John Harvey has a question, so does August, so does Flower Song, so does Anne, and there are lots more questions, but I want to really spend some time here, Janie, because this is the question you're asking is a perfectly poised question so that I can illustrate for everybody visually what trauma-informed looks like. So Janie is saying, so she's saying I'm currently, and then she's talking about current relationships, and then she's talking about early attachment over here. So here's currently, here's now, early attachment. This is back then, okay? Now, currently, she's doing mentalization-based therapy for borderline personality disorder. Okay, that's what she's doing right now. It's focusing on early attachment styles from a long time ago, like infancy, childhood, and how these early attachment styles affect now and how they affect her current relationships. Does that sound trauma-informed? Yes, it does, as long as she meets the criteria that I asked you guys to screenshot. And this is why. You guys, every single one of us here on this channel, anyone watching this video right now, you have, if you are a human and you're watching this video, you have behaviors and tendencies, thoughts and feelings right now, present day, that you wish were a little bit different. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. You'd be like, I'm all better, I'm fixed, I don't need to be here, yay, life is awesome, thumbs up. But we all, every single person that's here on this channel has behaviors, coping strategies, feelings, thoughts, and something that we wish was just a little bit different. We're gonna call them symptoms, okay? They're just symptoms. Or if you wanna talk about like a flower, like they're the petals on the flower, okay? And then back then, like attachment styles and attachment trauma is gonna be the flower stem and what holds the petals. So all of your flower petals, some of them you wanna keep. Loves me not. There are some loves me nots on your flower petals. Let's say you, like, okay, I'm just gonna talk about myself because I don't wanna talk about anybody here. I wanna talk about me so you guys can relate it to yourself, okay? So I have maladaptive coping strategies that still plague me to this day, regardless of the work I do here, and regardless of the hard work I'm doing in EMDR, and regardless of all the work I've done for the last 17 years. I still have maladaptive coping strategies. All that means is that I haven't adapted to life today. I'm still using things that kept me alive when I was a child. Maladaptive. Haven't adapted to adulthood yet. I'm still doing things. I still get stuck in child mode sometimes. And I do things that I used to do when I was a kid that kept me alive. But now that I'm an adult, it really isn't helpful. So loves me not. So let's talk about some of my loves me petals, okay? Loves me not. Loves me not. I hope you guys know what I'm referring to. And if you're from another country and you guys don't know what I mean by loves me not, hopefully if you like Google that, then you'll know what I'm talking about. So some of my flower petals are loves me and some of them are loves me not, and I want to pluck those babies out. Some of the loves me are I communicate my needs effectively. That is a healthy coping strategy. I am triggered by something, I'm frustrated by something, and rather than numb stuff or avoid, or project, or raise my voice, or smear someone, or get angry or rage out at them, I say, I'm noticing that you're communicating with me in this way, and I would prefer that you didn't. When you talk to me that way, I feel this way, and I would prefer that you didn't do that. That's a healthy coping strategy. I'm gonna save that flower petal. Let's say we're gonna move on to some love me nots. So some of my maladaptive coping strategies are, I use food to comfort myself. If I am triggered or I'm feeling overly stressed out, or if I'm feeling any emotion that is high, or low, and there's like some emotional dysregulation going on, I use food as a comfort. Not to the point where I'm binging, like binge eating disorder, but I am an eating disorder survivor and I'm in recovery for an eating disorder. And I notice that sometimes I use food to comfort. Okay, so that's loves me not. I want to pluck that baby out. And then I still bite my fingernails when I'm nervous or stressed out, or I'm feeling any emotion a little bit too fully. So when I was a child and there would be abuse going on, I would bite my fingernails to dissociate. It helped me to dissociate. I would bite my fingers I would bite my fingernails so low that they would almost bleed, almost bleed, but not quite. Because if you bite your nails just perfectly, they won't bleed. They'll hurt, but you don't want them to hurt. Like, that's not the point. The point is that you're paying such close attention to your fingernails that you're actually able to like focus on it completely and not focus on the abuse, or not focus on the trauma, not focus on the domestic violence that's going on, or whatever it is. So that's a maladaptive coping strategy. That's something I'm still doing today that I don't want to do anymore. So we're going to pluck that baby out. Loves me not. And then let's see, what's another coping strategy that I have? Sometimes if I feel afraid or like I'm in a situation where something my husband says or does is a precursor to violence, even though he's not prone to violence at all. Like, he's never been a violent person with me, ever. I don't even know if he's ever been a violent person like his whole entire life, like seriously. I don't know if he has the ability to get violent, or it's just not something that he says it just doesn't even register for him. Like, it's not really something that he's prone to. So when he sets a cup down on the counter really, really loud and something hits me at like a certain decibel and it's loud, I freeze, and then I have the need to leave, like go for a drive, because I feel like I'm about ready to get hit or punched or hurt in some way. That's a maladaptive coping strategy. I want to pluck that baby out. Loves me not. So my flower stem, my attachment trauma, the little thing that holds all my flower petals, there's a lot of different stuff. My attachment style in early childhood, as Janie was mentioning, is I didn't attach properly. The reason I didn't attach properly is because I had neglect. There was neglect going on. So I was neglected as an infant, and then when I was able to attach, it was traumatic because my caregiver was not fully present and they weren't soothing. And I had no ability to self-soothe as a baby because I needed to be taught how to do that. So my attachment style and my attachment trauma, rather, we're going to do a whole nother video on attachment styles. I don't want to bring those in right now, but attachment trauma is a thing, and it's back then, okay? That's the stem, the flower stem, and the little thing that holds the petals. Here, the treatment that we're going through and all of our maladaptive coping strategies, the thoughts and the feelings and the tendencies that we wish we could either save or get rid of, those are symptoms, okay? So anytime if you're with a practitioner and your practitioner is saying, you have these symptoms, we're not only going to focus on these symptoms and get rid of the ones you don't want to keep, but we're going to take into consideration something that happened a really long time ago, like attachment trauma. And we're going to help you put the pieces together. How these relate to this. We're going to connect the dots, because there's a lot of dots. And I'm going to help you do that. And once we address attachment trauma and how it relates to your interpersonal relationships now, today, you're going to feel empowered to make different decisions and pluck out those babies that you don't want anymore and develop new and healthier habits. So as long as your practitioner, Janie, is taking into consideration what happened a long time ago and what's going on now, helping you connect the dots in an environment that empowers you and helps you to have hope, yes, that's considered trauma-informed. And as long as, remember I highlighted number 4 and I said this is a really important one, your practitioner needs to be focused on making sure that she does whatever she can to make sure you're not re-traumatized. And if you are experiencing trauma surrounding discussing your attachment trauma and how it relates to your present relationships, she's going to pause, check in with you, and do what she can to make sure that you're not re-traumatized in the now. Because if you are re-traumatized now as you're dealing with how your attachment trauma is affecting your day-to-day relationships now in adulthood, if you're re-traumatized during this process, the likelihood of you going back to it and actually healing the core trauma is not likely if you're re-traumatized in therapy. The likelihood of you being able to get past that and establishing distress tolerance, being able to function in the now, emotional regulation, distress tolerance skills, be present in your body, know that you're safe. The likelihood of you being able to do all of those things if you're re-traumatized in therapy, it decreases. So she needs to be very mindful of making sure that you're not re-traumatized in therapy. I hope that was a helpful answer for you, even though it was really, really long. It needed to be said. And it will also lay the foundation for the rest of the answers that everyone else is going to be asking in their questions. So great questions, you guys. I hope that was helpful for you. John Harvey says, how can you get the care you need if you lived in a small town and the local therapist may not be up to speed to help you? You know what, John Harvey? My goodness. Oh, This brings up a really good point, you guys. Oh, Harriet, if you could pop up the video right here, the link to the one that we did on low cost to no cost resources. I think it has like fluorescent green lettering on the thumbnail. And I'm at my cousin's house when I'm recording it, I think. This is like 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Oh my goodness. I think it's called low cost to no cost resources. Sadly, many of you live in remote areas. Sadly, many of you live in areas where economically it's not feasible, and you might even live in rural areas. In fact, I'm willing to bet money, even though I haven't read the rest of the questions that are going to be asked. I know some of you are living in areas that are so rural that you don't have public transportation, you don't have trauma-informed care. This video might not be helpful for you, and if it's not, I apologize. Take the best, leave the rest, skip this video altogether if it's not helpful for you, and move on to something that is, and go to the channel and look for something else, or look up another YouTuber. But in an effort to keep you here and administer care to you in this environment, I want to say that there is a lot of virtual help available these days. Search YouTube, search Google, look for someone like Jody Amen that offers virtual care. She is trauma informed, you guys. Go to jodyamen.com, jodiaman.com. Harriet, if you could link up Jody Amen below this video, that would be amazing. She offers virtual care, like virtual therapy, and she's very trauma informed. There are a lot of places. And if you go to psychcentral.com, or is it psychcentral.org? I can't ever remember. But they have tons of people listed on there that offer virtual services. And you live in a remote area and you're not able to drive because you're disabled, or you live in a small town and proper care isn't available. But I want to encourage you to scour the internet and advocate on your own behalf and find someone that offers something virtually, because you deserve the highest level of care. But if this video is triggering for you because you live in a small town and you can't get those things, then please stop the video and go find trauma-informed care that can be administered virtually, because you deserve it. You deserve trauma-informed care. So it is a reality, though, that you guys, some of you live in small towns, and some of you live in rural areas, and there's no bus, there's no train, there's no Uber. There's a 10-month wait to see any type of mental health professional, and this is the reality. And it is a tragedy and a travesty that proper care is not made available to everyone who needs it. So I want to encourage you to please don't stop looking. Please continue to look for trauma-informed care, because you deserve the best possible care. You're worth it. So I wish I had a better answer other than search the internet, but you know, Jody Amen's a great place. Go over to katiemorton.com and see who she recommends. Where are my Kenyans? You guys know. She always talks about people who offer great care. There are so many trauma-informed practitioners that offer virtual services, but just make sure that you ask them the questions that you screenshotted earlier, okay? August says, my dentist was trauma-informed and wanted to help if I got triggered. Yes, I'm so happy someone mentioned dental care. You guys, this is a thing. So I spoke at a leadership event last March. So not like a couple months ago, March, but like a year ago. And it was in Columbus, Ohio. And I went there, and it was a mastermind meetup for all business owners. And one of the gentlemen and his friend, so two of the gentlemen that were there, were from Canada. And they sat on several different nonprofit boards. And one of the guy, his name was Tuan, he was the founder of this healthcare group in Canada, where he had a whole group of dentists, a whole, I guess, circuit of dentists that all offered trauma-informed services, trauma-informed dentistry, dental care for anyone who had been traumatized or anyone who had anxiety and terror surrounding the dentist. And he told us all about what he had done and how he had a group of all the dentists that he could find, like in his area, and people, you know, reached out to him to be promoted by him. He ran this group of dentists, like a website and everything. His name's Tuan Nguyen. I think if you looked him up, I think it's Tuwan. I believe he's Vietnamese, and Nguyen is Nguyen. And he is the founder of a dental care group who specializes in they all offer trauma-informed dental care. And I don't know if he has anybody in his group or in his network of in the United States or in other countries, but it would be worth looking into. That's amazing, August, because you guys already know my story with the dentist. I mean, seriously, oh my goodness. Everyone should get that type of care. So Flower Song says, there are pain management doctors. Are there pain management doctors who are trauma informed? Yes, as a matter of fact, there are. In fact, I found online a couple of anesthesiologists who had studied trauma informed care. They had gone to some sort of a workshop, a trauma informed care workshop. And interestingly, there's somebody in our community that used to be really active in our community a couple years ago, and I don't think they are anymore. I think they moved, or maybe they're just in a different, stage of their recovery. And they attended a trauma-informed care conference, and they and all of their colleagues attended this trauma-informed care conference. And I believe it was in Florida. Was it in Florida? Northern Florida. And then there was one in Alabama as well. So it's very common. You just have to look into it. And they are not always under pain management. Like, you have to really dig and look for trauma-informed care first. If you find somebody who's trauma-informed, and then ask them for some referral for someone who does pain management. And, hopefully it'll be within your plan and within your covered medical plan. Hopefully you won't have to go outside of your network and have to pay out of pocket, because that's super duper duper expensive. Let's see. Ann Austin says, I have been to many therapists who have claimed they have had experience working with trauma, but in all actuality, they had not. Unless we get to really interview them, how can we tell? The answer is you can't. You can't tell, Ann. You really can't. You can't tell unless you interview them. And there's nothing wrong with interviewing your practitioner. Nothing wrong at all. I encourage all of you to write down the questions that you have for your doctors, and you ask them, period. I lost a dear friend of mine on Saturday. His name's Jerry. He was diagnosed with cancer on August 17th, and he died on Saturday. He went very, very, very fast. It was like 6 weeks, you guys. I mean, 6 weeks. And like, I'm friends with his wife, and, they would come over to our house every week for a while. We led a Bible study at our house, and, he's amazing. And I have another friend who just got diagnosed with cancer, and they're over on Oahu, he and his wife, and they're receiving, all the care that they know how to receive. And they're just going through all these preliminary appointments, because the guy that's over on Oahu with his wife right now, who he leads my husband's Bible study on Thursday nights, they had questions that they wrote down. Now get this, you guys. I'm telling you this because you guys need to interview your doctors. And any doctor worth their weight is going to listen to your questions and answer all of them. So his name's Kavika, and her name is Carrie, and husband and wife. And they flew over to Oahu, and the wife, I believe she said she had 17 questions. And that doctor sat there and answered all 17 of her questions regarding his cancer and upcoming surgery. That's traumatizing, and that doctor is trauma-informed. I'm willing to bet. Now, is every doctor going to be totally fine with answering 17 questions? Probably not. Does that mean that they're horrible? No, they could just be short on time. But you guys, you have to do your homework, and you have to reach out, and you have to communicate your needs. So interview your doctors. Communicate a need in the beginning. I have a need to feel safe. I am a trauma survivor. I need to feel safe with you. I need to ask you some questions in order to be able to know if I feel safe with you before I move forward with this treatment or with this program or with this care. I'm just going to be real with you guys, okay? When I had Kaiser Permanente a few years back, I had to go in to the dermatologist and have some suspicious spots removed, like skin cancer stuff. And it was really scary for me. Many of you know that, you know, part of my childhood, like I had to stay outside all day, no access to the house, not the bathroom, not food, nothing. I had to drink out of the hose. And I was in the hot sun and I had to pull weeds. And that plus me not knowing any better and just baking myself in the sun and going to tanning salons when I was in like a teenager or in my 20s, I have skin issues. A combination of my abuse and my stupidity equals I have skin issues. So I had to go to the dermatologist, and I went to Kaiser, and I informed them right when I checked in that I am living with PTSD. I'm a survivor living with PTSD, and that I want somebody in the room with me, and I want to ask some questions to make sure that I feel safe. And they said, absolutely, Miss Moberg, we'll make sure. And I had to do it 3 different times. Like I had to go back 3 times. So it wasn't like I just said it once and they automatically knew. I said it once, they complied. Every time I went back, I said it, they complied. And many of them were really sweet. One of them said, can I give you a hug? You give me such hope. Like you're doing so well. You've been through so much and you're doing so well. I just want to hug you and just tell you thank you. And like sometimes you'll get somebody like that who asks if they can hug you and tells you that you're doing a good job. Sometimes you're going to get an asshole who, like one of the doctors that I ended up seeing was rude to me. I never went back to him. I just didn't. I decided to go somewhere else because I didn't feel safe with him. So you got to do what you got to do. And unless you can interview them, you're not going to know. So interview them. I encourage it. And that doctor who answered all 17 of Carrie's questions, like, God bless that man, seriously. Gary says, I had a therapist, not really trauma informed, but had helpful healing attitude and used helpful CBT. How to know if not trauma informed therapists will be okay. That's really good, Gary. That's amazing. That's really helpful to know that they weren't necessarily trauma informed, but that they were helpful. I think to address your question of, you know, how are you going to know if non-trauma informed therapists will be okay? I think you're only going to know, you guys, if you meet with them and you ask them the questions that you want to, and if you, give yourself permission to not, give yourself permission to change your mind. If you guys take anything away from this video today, other than healing is possible and there's hope, please take this away with you. I'm just going to leave this here, and I'm just going to leave it there for you guys to pick up and just take with you, okay? Give yourself permission to change your mind. It's okay. I know many of you consider changing your mind to be an unsafe quality because so many of our abusers said one thing and did another, or they would lay down the groundwork for rules that were in place and they would change the rules on you at the last minute just to fuck you over and just to screw with your mind. But guess what? If you change your mind about a practitioner, you change your mind and you don't want to receive care from them, it doesn't make you an abuser. It doesn't make you just like your abuser. It makes you human, a human who changed your mind. So while changing your mind as it pertains to your best possible care feels similar to your abuser changing their mind and switching the rules up on you and ripping the rug out from underneath you just to mess with your head, just so they could get you wobbly so that they could exploit you further, you changing your mind as it pertains to your mental health care doesn't make you just like your abuser. It doesn't make you unsafe. It makes you human. And it means that you're looking out for your best interest. It's counterintuitive. It's not going to feel comfortable. But I want to just leave that right there. You guys just pick it up if you want to. I'm just going to leave it there. Give yourself permission to change your mind when it is in your best interest and it's not at the expense of someone else's well-being. I, Athena, reserve the right to change my mind. If I want to change my mind as it pertains to the best possible care that I deserve to receive, I'm going to change my mind. It might feel uncomfortable, and I won't do it if it's at the expense of someone else's well-being, because that would be exploitative, just like my abuser. But I'm going to reserve the right to change my mind because I deserve it. So rewind this video 15, 30 seconds and write that down and put your name in there. I, Gary, I, Flower Song, I, August, I, Ann, I, Joey, I, Julie, I, Hunter, I, John, any of you. Reserve the right to change my mind. And it doesn't make me predatory, because when I change my mind, it's not at the expense of someone else's well-being. I don't exploit others, but I'll change my mind if it's in my best interests and my well-being depends on it. I want to give you permission to change your mind. And that includes practitioners. What feels safe today might not feel safe later on down the road. And if you go to all the, you go to whatever degree you need to, you communicate at whatever level you need to, and you try to make things right, and you try to somehow feel safe with that person, but you just don't quite feel safe anymore, it's okay to change your mind. I'm giving you permission to change your mind. I want to allow you guys the privilege to allow yourselves the privilege to change your mind. I want to give you guys permission to do that, because we all deserve to change our minds if we need to. And maybe no one's ever told you that you could change your mind and not be just like your abuser, because that's black and white thinking. Just because I look just like one of my abusers doesn't mean I am her. Just because I think thoughts that aren't the greatest thoughts sometimes doesn't mean that I'm predatory and exploitative and psychopathic and sociopathic and Machiavellian and cannibalistic and abusive and exploitative and all the other adjectives I could come up with right now. It means that I'm human and I think thoughts sometimes that are not very good thoughts. Do I act on them? Do I exploit others? Am I abusive? Am I unkind? Do I purposely harm other people? Do I act in ways which serve me but are at the expense of other people's well-being? No. I am not her, and she is not me. So I hope that was powerful for some of you, because that was powerful for me when I realized it. And I'm hoping that you guys can benefit from that. So you're not going to know if somebody's safe and good, trauma-informed or not, unless you sit with them and you interview them and you decide. You decide. It's always up to you guys. You guys get to decide what care you want and what care you don't want. Anne says, therapists in Texas are allowed to claim experience when they just learned about it in school. How do we get the real experience information out of those therapists? You got to interview them, you guys. You got to ask the questions. You got to say, can you tell me a little bit about your experience? How would you handle a situation with a client if this is what was going on? And you got to ask the questions. I know that that's uncomfortable for you, and the responsibility is being put on you, the mental health consumer, and maybe that's not fair, but life's not fair. And if you want the best possible care, you guys, we're going to need to ask for it. And I want to give you permission to ask for it. You deserve excellent care, and I don't care what Texas allows people to do. You deserve excellent care. Joey says, there is only one trauma-informed therapist in the area. I do not feel a connection with her. I really want to work out my trauma because it would answer so many questions that I have unanswered. Or I think it is my fault that only she would be able to answer. She goes through information really, really fast and I don't understand it. And when I ask her to slow down, she gets mad. I don't feel comfortable around her showing emotions because I caught her rolling her eyes one time when I started crying. Should I keep going to her, hoping things will get better and tough it out? I don't want to keep going if I feel uncomfortable every time. But since there's only one trauma-informed in my area, any suggestions? Yeah, I have a suggestion, Joey. Run. Don't go back. If you feel comfortable addressing the issue, let her know. I'm canceling my appointments with you because I noticed that when I was showing human emotions, as a result of trauma that I've experienced, because anyone who's an adult that was sexually abused as a child and has experienced trauma needs to grieve. And here I am, 40 years old, and I'm trying to grieve. I don't know if you're 40. I apologize, Joey. You might be 30. I'm so sorry. I forget your age. But, you know, sometimes you got to just call them out and say, you know, the reason I'm canceling my appointment with you is because I was re-traumatized in your office. I don't learn things as quickly as you say them, and you rolling your eyes in the midst of my pain is absolutely unacceptable behavior, and you shouldn't be allowed to practice. I mean, if you guys are comfortable with conflict, I got to admit, like, I'm like, hell yeah, let me at her. I'll talk to her, because I'm not the person that the trauma happened to. It's me in mama bear mode, like, rawr, you did this to one of my 3,000 children on my YouTube channel, you know? Not that you guys are all children, but you know what I mean? Like, I'm like in mama bear mode. Like, if something like that happens to you guys, I'm like, rawr, let me at them. But if it was happening to me, I would be like, I think I might need to go back to them. You know, I would probably be feeling the exact same way you're feeling, Joey. But in my wise mind, fully adult self, that's not in rage out mama bear mode, I'm telling you right now, don't go back. And you don't even owe her an explanation. You just don't go back. None of us owe practitioners an explanation. We pay their bills. We keep their lights on. They work for us. I am a practitioner. My clients pay my bills. They keep my lights on. I work for them. Period. If I acted in that way, shame on me. I don't deserve to be paid by them. No. And they don't owe me an explanation. Just cancel. Period. Like, I hope that's helpful. But no, don't go back. You don't deserve to be treated that way. No one does. Julie says, I don't think I have ever had a trauma-informed therapist. They never did a thing to help me feel better, and I rarely felt safe enough to want their help. Yeah, well, Julie, if they didn't create a safe space for you, yeah, I don't think. First of all, if a therapist doesn't create a safe space for you, not only are they not trauma informed, it's not a healthy practice. They're not running a healthy practice. And sometimes in economically depressed areas where the climate within the area, not the weather climate, but the economic climate within a town or a county or a state is depressed, or there's a recession, or people, you know, are oftentimes on fixed income, or I happen to know a little. I have the privilege of knowing that Julie happens to live in the middle of a area that they don't have a lot of practitioners, and it's an economically depressed area in some ways. And so if that's the case, it's almost like they have job security and they can just treat people however they want because people are going to come to them. You know, that's a huge mistake on their part, and I'm not going to pretend to know the situation, and maybe they didn't do that, but you deserve to be treated with the best possible care. You deserve trauma-informed care. You deserve to feel safe, regardless of whether or not someone's trauma-informed. You deserve to feel safe. So yeah, I'd be willing to bet that maybe you didn't. T says, can I just heal fully or in the right way if my therapist isn't trauma-informed? I've connected with her and I'm scared to change. Well, first of all, there's no right way to heal. So I'm telling you that there's no right way. There's only your way, you know, and their way, right? So if you feel comfortable, yeah, stay. If you find someone that you feel comfortable with and you have a rapport with and you feel safe with, you can ask them questions. And the reason I say this, you guys, that, you know, to stay, is because there have been therapists that were not trauma informed who have gone out of their way to go and learn how to get trauma-informed when they found out that their clients were trauma survivors. I happen to have colleagues that had no clue what trauma-informed care was. At some point in time, none of us knew what trauma-informed care is, because the trauma-informed care movement isn't something that's been around for a really long time. It's only recent, over the last 10 years. So trauma-informed care, in fact, honestly, like, it only became sort of like a buzzword in like late 2013. That was when I first heard about it. So that was only like 4 years ago. So just because your therapist isn't trauma-informed, like, I have colleagues that didn't know anything about trauma, and they went to continuing education conferences and took continuing education courses online just so they could be better equipped to help their clients when they found out that they're trauma survivors. In the middle of doing whatever type of modality it was, I believe the colleague I'm talking about right now specialized in cognitive behavioral therapy, which incidentally is very, very, very effective when it comes to different types of trauma, especially if someone's living with depression. Cognitive behavioral therapy is very effective in treating clients who are living with clinical depression. So when she found out that someone she was treating for depression was actually a trauma survivor, and that the depression might have been one of the flower petals and not the root, not the original trauma, right? The depression's just a symptom of the original trauma. Then she went to conferences and took continuing education courses just so she could help her clients more effectively, because she was a badass therapist who cared. There are some amazing therapists out there who really care about their clients, and they want to make a difference, and they really want to provide the best level care possible for their clients, and they want to learn new things and reach out and help more people, as many as possible. I hope you guys all find one of those people, because not everyone's going to take what's going on now and connect it to what happened back here and help you connect the dots. Sometimes they'll just be able to focus on this, and if that's all you really want to focus on right now, that's okay. That's okay, T. Your therapist doesn't need to be trauma-informed to be good. And you never know. If you mentioned trauma-informed care to your therapist, at some point maybe they would, oh, I remember hearing about trauma-informed care, T. In fact, I went to this continuing education conference, and one of the breakout sessions they offered was trauma-informed care, but I didn't know what that was. But now that you mentioned it, maybe next year when I go to the conference for all the therapists in my area, maybe I'll seek out a breakout session that's on trauma-informed care. Thank you. And then just because you spoke up, like, countless people will benefit from that type of continuing education. So you never know, like, maybe you're a part of the bigger picture. Let's see. Jess, hi Jess. I'm so happy you're here. You're such an encouragement to me, by the way. Athena says, I still bite my fingernails. I bite my fingernails to dissociate, and I'm sitting here biting my own. Whoops. Yeah. Yeah. It's one of my maladaptive coping strategies. Or it's, you know, a bad habit. But I'm not going to minimize my situation and just call it a bad habit. A bad habit would be like if I was leaving dishes in the sink, and I've been trying to not do that, which there are no dishes in my sink today, by the way, you guys. Remember I showed you last time. There's no dishes in my sink. There's no dishes in the sink. Boom. Although there is a bag of licorice next to me. Me, the person who's trying to eat healthy. And it's like anti-inflammatory pyramid, trying to eat healthy. Here I am, having some licorice. That's what I'm talking about. It's called balance, people. It's called balance. Okay. So, with my bitten fingernails, right? Hope says, can PTSD go away without therapy? The answer is yes. The answer is yes. There is a great website. It's linked down below this video in the description section, conveniently, to answer this question that I had no idea you were going to ask. And one of the links, I believe it's on the SAMHSA, SAMHSA.org, I believe, going off memory. There is a link towards the top right-hand side of that website that talks about trauma not necessarily turning into PTSD, and how preventative measures can be, and they did a study. If you can't find the link, by the way, then blow up my email box or something and I'll find it. I'll look for it again. But there was a study done with 457, or is it 475? I think it's 457 elementary school students that incurred a traumatizing event at their elementary school. I think 457 was just the sample. So I think the whole school went through something traumatic. And the sample within the abstract that I'm referring to, the sample was 457 students who received some form of follow-up care regarding the traumatic situation, which helped to build resiliency and did not result, a high percentage of them did not result in PTSD symptoms. All because they headed it off at the pass. All because they're like, oh, look, some traumatic shit went down at that elementary school. I know what we'll do. We'll do the humane thing and make sure that they receive the care they deserve. Why? So they don't end up adults with PTSD. Yeah. Give them the Nobel Peace Prize for that. Hello, that's what everybody should be doing. It's the humane thing to do. It's like, duh, right? So this sample of 457 students, a high percentage of them did not develop PTSD. So the specific question, the way you asked it, can PTSD go away without therapy, meaning that you're already living with PTSD symptoms and you didn't have a preventative measure? I'm still going to say yes, because without a therapist, like for instance, for years, I didn't have a therapist. I didn't have insurance. I didn't have money. All I did was my own research, and I did whatever I could on my own. And my PTSD symptoms were, they were lessened. They were decreased. I wasn't having as many nightmares or flashbacks or, you know, PTSD symptoms. So I didn't have as many like disturbing images. I wasn't having elevated heart rate, exaggerated startle response. Like after I was doing my own work without a therapist because I had no money and I had no insurance, my symptoms, as I chose to move in that direction and address my symptoms, then my symptoms dissipated. So I did that without a therapist, but I didn't do it without anything. So if you have PTSD symptoms, Hope, and you just leave them and just numb them, stuff them, or avoid them and don't address them, I don't think they'll go away on their own, but I think they will dissipate without a therapist if you intentionally do what you can to heal. I hope that was helpful. Look at me on time today. My goodness. Like 2 minutes early. You guys, it is such an honor to be here with you. Let me see if I have any other questions. Nope, that was it. My goodness. Let me see. Oops. There might be a couple that squeaked in. Let's see if they're fast ones. Okay, really, really, really fast because I don't want to leave any questions unanswered. John Harvey says, What do you do if your insurance gives you a limit in the care you can get? I'm going to tell you something, John Harvey. I thought for sure that was what was going to happen with me recently, especially going and doing EMDR. I was sure of it. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to be able to get the care I need. And I was nervous about it. So I did all the research I could possibly do. I did all the healing I could possibly do on my own. Because I thought, you know what? There's nothing I'm going to be able to do. I'm not going to be able to get the care I need. Let me take a drink of water really quick, guys. Hold on. So it ended up not being the case, but that is the case with a lot of insurance. You only have one a week, or you only have a maximum of 20 for a year or whatever, which is only like one every other week, if that. So I would seek as much online peer support as possible. If I were in that situation, John Harvey, I would seek as much self-care and self-guided care as possible. I would be online looking on thriftbooks.com, amazon.com for used books. And I would look for used copies of Complex PTSD from Surviving to Thriving. If I couldn't find any and I didn't have any money, I would email or call Pete Walker personally and ask him if he had a digital copy he'd be willing to give me, because I'm a trauma survivor and I need help. I would advocate on my own behalf if I had to. I would do whatever I needed to do to make sure that I could heal. That's what I would do if my insurance gave me a limit and I couldn't do it. Last question, Joey says, I know questions are closed for tonight, but do you happen to know if most trauma-informed therapists are survivors as well? And my short answer is I'm not sure, but I know that some amazing ones are. There are some incredible trauma-informed practitioners who are also survivors. I consider myself really fortunate to work with the amazing survivors I work with as a trauma-informed practitioner, and to be able to know what they're talking about and relate to what they're talking about. And I think that it gives me an advantage. It gives me an edge. And I'm not ever going to say that I'm grateful that I was abused or trafficked or sold and traded, or that I witnessed all the violence I witnessed. Or I'm not going to ever pretend that all of that stuff was like, ooh, you know, everything works out the way it's supposed to, and whatever didn't kill me made me stronger, and I'm so grateful that I was abused because it made me who I am today. I'm not going to feed you guys that line of BS, because if we're all being real and I could go back, I would have loving, kind, fully engaged parents who remained married and made me the focal point and made sure that I didn't experience attachment trauma, and that I had a healthy sense of self, and that I was able to be a child and run and play and laugh and experience joy, and that I would never even know what it felt like to witness violence or drugs or alcohol or abuse or abandonment or hunger or any of that. And I would do the same thing for each and every one of you. I wouldn't wish it on anybody. I wouldn't wish what I have been through on anybody, like ever. Like even the thought of it like just freaks me out, makes my eye twitch. So, but I know that it makes me an excellent practitioner. I know that my ability to go there and the fact that I've been there makes me really great at what I do. And I'm going to use the shit that I've been through to make me great in whatever way it can make me great. So while not all trauma-informed practitioners are survivors, many of the survivors I know who are practitioners are amazing. And I think part of the reason they're so amazing is because they're survivors. So that's my answer. I appreciate you guys all being here. I love coming here and spending time with you guys every single week. Big changes on the horizon. I've been doing all these surveys asking you guys what you need. CPTSD is the biggest thing you guys are talking about. You need resources. It's not a legit diagnosis in the United States yet, even though other countries have adopted a CPTSD diagnostic standpoint. Like, I mean, they agree with a CPTSD diagnosis in certain countries. Two come to mind right now. The United States has not followed suit yet, but I'm hopeful that we will, and I'm going to be ready, because there are not going to be enough therapists and psychiatrists and psychologists to help everyone who realizes that they have endured trauma that is now affecting them. And they're not just, see, people are going to wake up one day when they realize that CPTSD is a thing, you guys, and they're going to go, oh, you mean addiction isn't just addiction? Oh, you mean depression isn't just depression? Oh, you mean self-harm isn't just self-harm? Oh, you mean all of these symptoms I'm living with in my life didn't just pop up out of nowhere for no reason? You mean they're attached to something that I went through at some point and I can heal? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And I want to have everything ready when everybody realizes that there's help and that they will heal and that their lives don't have to suck forever. So, big changes on the horizon. Don't worry, I'm not going anywhere. I'm always going to be here. But big changes coming. So be ready. And I'll see you guys here next Monday, every Monday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, right here. And invite someone. And give this video a thumbs up, please. If it was helpful, you help me so much when you give videos thumbs ups. Like, I don't even know if you understand how much it helps me. So it helps me more than you will probably ever know. So please, if you do nothing else, give this video a thumbs up. And when the live chat is done and there are comments available to be left, leave some comments so that people coming to watch replays can actually see some of the incredible questions and answers and comments that you guys have when they come to watch the replay and they weren't here live. So you guys are the most important and amazing part of this entire community. It's because of you that so many people are healing. So don't ever forget that. I'll see you guys next week, okay? Bye, everybody.